Hello everybody, welcome to another video. Thank you so much for joining us. We're not in the workshop, we're out on a day trip, and I am standing on the oldest racetrack in the world at Brooklands Museum. This place is an incredible place. This is where motorsport all started. This racetrack, built in 1907, is the first man-made racetrack in the whole world. It's that kind of era that I absolutely love and am quite inspired by. But basically they would get an old engine from a World War I aeroplane, massive big engine, bolt it into a chassis, build a body around that, and go racing around this oval track, speeds of up to 150 odd miles an hour. It's incredible stuff. I could honestly wander around here all day, but I'm here for another reason. There is so much cool stuff here. Now, I will admit, although Brooklands Museum is full of amazing stuff, it is also the home of the Heritage Skills Academy. Their main training facility is behind that door there, and I've got a present for them. Here she is. How's it going?
I'm good, how are you?
Good to see you again.
Lovely to see you.
I come with gifts.
A present, how lovely, thank you.
Oh, I put them there.
Oh, look at those.
New set, I've got two sets.
Amazing.
For the Ramblers, which is fantastic.
Perfect.
But last time we saw you was at Revival.
Yes, it was.
They're working on projects that aren't going to go out to a customer, but trying to keep it ingrained in them that if they were and how the standards they're working to at work, they need to be proud of what they're producing, as well as their company being proud of what they're producing.
How's it been since then?
Busy.
Is it?
Yes, we've now probably got 2 more cohorts of coach building apprentices here since you last saw us. This is actually our newest group, so they are only their 4th week with us, so they're relatively fresh to it all.
Okay, what are they up to today?
So they're having introduction to wheeling this block. So this is a whole week of introduction to wheeling.
Couldn't have come on a better day then.
Exactly. So you actually brought like the perfect present for them to see. We're coupling that in with annealing, working on both aluminium and steel, and tinsmithing, making sure they can really get to grips with the hand tools as well.
Perfect. So it is the beginnings of metal shaping, and
exactly.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. It's a busy workshop, you've got a lot going on.
It is, yeah. We've got a mechanical group out there as well who are doing hydraulics this week, so they're working on brakes and also pneumatics. So
cool.
Yeah, we've got 2 full groups of students in.
Brilliant. Do you mind if we have a look around?
Of course, yeah.
Perfect. We can't walk past these without at least acknowledging them, can we? Is this what you've been working on?
This is what I've been doing.
This is one of the first things I learned how to make as well. So I'm still practicing now. It's cool.
I started off with a square piece of aluminium, and we had to snip out a perfect circle.
You haven't got like a circle cutter or anything like that, by hand?
We used a compass.
All by hand, yeah.
So
good on you.
Snipped it out, then we annealed it with the oxyacetylene torches.
Which is easier said than done. It can go horribly wrong.
Yeah, and then once it's annealed, obviously let it cool, and we use the wooden bossing mallet to shrink the edge and put some shape into it before putting it in the wheel, and then using the wheel to smooth it out.
Yeah. And this is not your first time doing it, surely, looking at how good that is.
Where do you work?
AH Spares, but the AH panel is part of AH Spares, which is Austin Healey's.
Oh, cool.
Austin Healey parts.
Replacement seals and panels and things.
For the Austin Healey's, yeah.
Brilliant.
So we don't work on people's cars, but we make them.
You make the panels and the, That's why I guess you can get like the whole front end in aluminium.
Yeah.
So this is quite good training for you then.
Yeah.
It must be cool spending your time working with somebody like that and then coming here, spending your time here with Grace?
It is good because it's getting to the end of the sort of 5-week period, and you start to think, oh, I wish I could learn a bit more now because I've used what I've learned before, and I much prefer the week rather than a day a week. I feel like you get more done.
Coming here for a whole week.
So you're here for a week, and you just immerse yourself in it,
learn, and then you go back and
learn more.
Learn more and put into practice what you've learned as well.
Of course. Yeah. Oh no, we're going to go through the exam room. Oh no.
They're all behaving themselves
okay.
Here.
Good luck, everyone. There's a whole different team here. They're doing mechanical stuff.
Yeah.
Whose car is this?
So we own most of the vehicles that we work on here. We share some of them with Starter Motor.
Right.
And they allow some of their fleet to sort of come here, and we do
for maintenance.
Both here and Bicester, yeah.
Yeah.
But then the majority of the other cars here, HSA do actually own them.
They own them and sort of have been donated, I guess. Or,
Donations, or we purchase them, we rescue them. That's another term we like to do. We rescue them. You put them to good use with the apprentices before they go to car heaven.
Yeah. Oh, and that 100E. Is that going to be saved?
We're trying to save it. Yeah, it's a relatively new acquisition actually. We only got it last week. It is rusty, but the coach building apprentices
it is quite rusty.
Will do as much as they can, learn on a real car. They might get something like that in at work. You know,
exactly.
They're not all in kind of production environment. Some of them are in repair and restoration side and stuff.
Yeah, it's a very different world making new panels to then rust repair on something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah. But they get to experience it all here. So.
Exactly, that's what we're trying to do, and it also gives the mechanical apprentices a really good base for trying. You know, that's got a side valve flathead as opposed to an A-series engine.
Yeah, of course.
We've got Rover V8s. We've got all sorts of different combinations. We try and give them a really good breadth of different vehicles. So right from kind of the really early 1900s stuff when we can, all the way up to sort of modern classic 70s, 80s stuff. Maybe
brilliant!
Into the 90s now. We gradually increase more competency, more independence.
Yeah.
It gets more complex.
It's that journey, isn't it? I suppose it's just like you have to sort of let them not fly the nest, but you've got to let them go for it. Yeah, mistakes are going to be made, things are going to happen, but it's kind of part of it.
But I think it's actually really good how they learn from their mistakes as well. They go, I'm not going to do that next time. Or when that comes in at work, I know what I did wrong. I know I'm going to do it better. That is so true.
You trap your finger under the wheel machine. You only do that a couple of times before you. So you've been part of the academy here for over a year now.
Yes.
How have you found it?
I found it really good. There's been a lot of good learning experience, which I've quite enjoyed a lot, to be honest.
Yeah. Where do you work?
So I work down at Dorset Racing, so that's in Dorchester, Dorset, and we specialise in historic motorsport, 50s, 60s Formula cars, and sort of Grand Prix cars. And
more mechanical side of things then. Did someone in the mechanical side ever go in the coach building side, or is there no cross-contamination?
They're allowed in there, and there's certain tools that we do get shared and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, would it be interesting to you? Do you sometimes look over and say, what they're doing? Or?
Yeah, the coach building side of it is quite interesting, and with some people who I work with as well, there's some good coach builders within that as well.
I think they'll have to be when the race cars crash.
Yeah.
They've got to go somewhere. They've got to go next door. Yeah. Brilliant. Nice to see you. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Something I'm dying to know is if I was a 16-year-old kid and I wanted to get into this, how do you get into here?
Okay, so you've got two main paths. You either come to us at the Heritage Skills Academy and you say, I'm really interested in the course, whether it be mechanical or coach building, and we say, okay, fine, come for an IA, which is an initial assessment. We run through, we just check that you'd be safe workshop. They have a simple kind of assembling a plug test, so we just check that you can use pliers, that kind of thing.
Sure.
They have a chat with us and we say, yep, you're good to go. Okay, they go on our books, we then try and pair them up location-wise with employers, and then we go from there. Or they go out, they get a job, they find a company, that company employs them, and then they say, I'd really like to put you on an apprenticeship, and the employer approaches us. There's two pathways that they can do it.
Is it 16 is the youngest you take on?
They have to have an employment record with a company. So as long as a company would employ them, we will take them from school because they have to be in education until they're 18. This counts as education, so we can take them at 16.
At 16. Yeah. That's the best thing about it. It's not just a school. They're apprentices. They've got a job.
They have to work.
They're working.
That's the definition of an apprenticeship. They have to be working in order to come onto the programme with us.
16-year-old Dom signed up to the course. I'm in. You found me a job somewhere at a dream garage somewhere doing coach building. How long am I here for?
Okay, so the whole course is 3.5 years, which is effectively 32 blocks of training. So we have them here for a week at a time, and that week happens roughly once every 5 weeks. So it's roughly 9 times a year they'll visit us at Brooklands or Bicester. So myself and Andy are coach building tutors. We also have Paul down here, and he's on the mechanical side as well. And then at Bicester, you've got lots of different mechanical tutors that deal with all the mechanical.
All different sides, yeah.
Yeah.
So if the other way around then, if grown-up Dom has,
Yeah.
I wanted to take an apprentice on,
Sure.
or another workshop out there, someone like Jeff at MPH,
Yep.
how does that work? Can you help them?
Yeah, so you approach us. We've got a really good recruitment team, which is Janice and Kyra. They have all the details. They know how it works through both the government and also through kind of getting all the paperwork in place. They will say to you, okay, whereabouts are you? Oh, we have an apprentice that's registered with us in that area, or if not, okay, well, we'll keep an eye out and we'll find someone. Occasionally we've got apprentices that want to relocate anyway. So we say to them, okay, come down for an interview, bit of work experience, see how you get on. We put together those kind of first meetings, gauge how it goes from both ways, and then we say, okay, have a trial and see. And that is how a lot of the relationships build up really well, actually, because it's mutually beneficial.
It is a relationship, I suppose, isn't it? It's a working relationship, but it's an important sort of connection between what you do here at Bicester and in wherever the employment is. How did you get into this? Because you're sort of quite young to be going through all of this and now teaching it.
Yeah, so always been involved and interested in cars. That was my dad's influence when I was young, sort of from about the age of sort of 5, I was going to car shows and things.
From 5?
Yeah, and then we also got into drag racing when I was about 8, and that's a hobby that I do to this very day.
Really?
Yeah, helping out sort of teams and sportsman racing, a bit of pro racing as well.
What are you, mechanical?
On the crew.
You're on the crew?
I'm on the mechanical side, yeah. So the way it sort of works is sort of prepping the car ready for a race and then sort of tearing it down afterwards and checking it, fault tracing.
What sort of car? Quick.
Yeah, so one of the sportsman cars is a Plymouth Superbird.
American things.
Car.
Okay.
Yeah, so most of them are V8 powered, the ones that I've dealt with anyway.
Yeah.
And then also I crew on one of the funny cars, which is the big
the big kind of open up.
That's it, the 4-second ones. I do the clutch on that.
No.
Yeah. So I love getting my hands dirty. That's kind of how I kind of got into this, was the fact that I never wanted to go into an industry, kind of, because all throughout school I was really good at design technology.
Yeah.
That was my absolute
DT, I love DT
subject.
class, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then I went off and found my own apprenticeship. Did it with Brooklands College, just up the road here.
Doing what?
Level 3 mechanical manufacturing engineering.
Okay, goodness me.
Long
rolls off the tongue.
Long title for basically kind of like just learning the basics of metalwork, welding and milling and turning. And then I got employed at Chinea Fabrications, restoring historic race and road cars, primarily aluminium, which is my true love, aluminium.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it.
Well, what an amazing history you've had already. This is the perfect person, I think, to be teaching.
Well, I hope I inspire them as well, because I think also, I don't want to hold back on any kind of information I have them. I want to kind of not make it easy for them, because they have to face the challenge of learning it as well.
Yeah.
But there's no mileage in sabotaging someone when they're trying to learn it.
Yeah.
Especially in this industry, we need young people to come into it. We need to keep it alive, and we need to keep the flow of it going.
I think it's an amazing facility, and I would have loved to have just come to somewhere like this. I went such a wiggly round route doing graphic design and fine art. I just think it's fantastic, and the more people we can encourage and inspire to get into it and have a go.
We do have to do an assessment each block as well, and we do have to sort of check their knowledge and their learning as well, making sure that any kind of important facts and figures, flow rates and things like that going in, health and safety.
Of course.
Big one, but it is practical. We try and make it 80 to 90% practical every time.
Yeah.
They're learning by doing. You can watch as many people do it as you can on YouTube and great videos and stuff, but until you actually have some material in your hands and try and do something and learn and respond and figure out what's actually happening, that's how we really.
Yeah, that's it. Learning from mistakes, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, your scrap bin here must be fairly large, but that's the best way to learn, though, isn't it?
Yeah. We try and do it so there's always scope that they can, okay, you've made a mistake here, but we can still recover this, let me show you how. Yeah. It's about that. It's not about knocking them down each time, because you're forever building them back up, and then it gets to you as well.
I bet. Yeah, exactly. It's got a bit of a roller coaster, but that's what it's all about, isn't it? Kind of learning how to get yourself out of trouble.
100%.
That's better. Good.
Yeah, that looks really, really
I'm
cool.
relieved.
Thank
Good.
you so much.
Yeah. Hey, no worries. It's such a well-equipped workshop. Where did this all start? Why did you set this up?
We knew that there was a need for it, but the biggest problem was that all of the older workshops, the classic specialists, were so jaded about apprentices. They couldn't select the right ones. They couldn't find people who wanted to stay in the industry. We knew they were there, but they're very good at mending cars, but they're not very good at recruiting people or training them. So eventually we got P&A Wood. They were the catalyst for starting this whole revolution, really.
Okay.
And they wanted 8 apprentices.
8?
Yeah.
Wow.
So we interviewed about 120 people. They took on 8. All of those 8 people completed. And it was then the rest of the industry heard about it and thought, so it can be done.
That
we'll
does
have
work.
a part of that.
Yeah.
And that's where it went from. And we started on mechanical. We did that for about 3 or 4 years. Then we opened the coach building, and we were probably one of the only apprenticeship programs in the country that doubled in size over COVID.
Wow.
So, and everybody else just went down like that.
Yeah.
And but most of our companies, they closed the doors, they're still working inside, and they just went, okay, we need some more coach builders, we need some more mechanics. Yeah, we've got 200 now.
200 students.
200 apprentices.
Or apprentices, yeah. 200 apprentices, my goodness.
We've been donated various pieces of kit and equipment from Clark and Carter, who are Rolls-Royce and Bentley specialists,
Right.
as well as a lot of other things. But they've given us, they've given the apprentices the opportunity to use stuff which they wouldn't get hold of anywhere else.
No.
So, and the fact that we've been able to get the wheels, the anvils,
Yeah.
for the Ranelagh from you, that's brilliant.
So the machine's sitting there in the workshop, and they've got the apprentice there saying, look, I've learned, I've been to the Heritage Skills Academy, and they've shown me how to use it. Can I have a go?
I can fold it, I can wheel it, I can create whatever you want.
Yeah.
And then once they start using it, then they start developing the skills, and then they just blossom.
And then I guess the employers must be thinking, oh, actually, it was worth getting that apprentice after all.
That's right.
Well, John, thank you so much for having us over, and thank you for setting up the most amazing workshop I think I've seen. It's been an inspiring morning coming down and seeing everyone working away here. It really has.
Good. Well, it's brilliant, and we love the support you give us, and you're welcome anytime.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Well, I hope you enjoyed that little glimpse and look inside the Heritage Skills Academy's workshop. I mean, what an amazing place. So clean and tidy and organised. I feel like I've got some cleaning up to do in my workshop. Anyway, I have got a few hours of daylight left. I'm going to get one more walk around the museum and see if I can find my favourite car. Actually, leave me a comment below. What is your favourite car from everything you've seen today? I think I know what mine is. Leave a comment below, give us a thumbs up, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.